Hey, family, welcome to another episode of the Black Man Roundtable. I am your co host, Rodney Butler.
I'm Kevin Evans, co-moderator.
All right. We have a special guest this evening in our candidate spotlight series that we're going to be doing. Um, and this time we have one of the candidates on that's running for the Superior Court judge. And his name is Attorney Corey Martin. Corey, take this moment to quickly to tell people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Attorney Corey Martin. I'm running for Douglas County Superior Court Judge. I am the owner of the law offices of Martin and Associates, located here in Douglasville, Georgia. We practice criminal, civil, tax law, and immigration. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, all right. So anyway, this evening we have a few questions that we're going to be asking Corey on his trek to become uh, the next Superior Court judge. And I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to kick it off. All right. Let's see, Corey. Can you describe your background and experience in law, particularly any experiences that have prepared you for a judicial role?
Thank you, Rodney, for allowing me to be here. You and
Yes, sir.
Kevin, I appreciate this opportunity. I believe that my entire career in life has been a build up to this moment now for me to not only run for Superior Court Judge, but to also win that seat as far as Douglas County Superior Court Judge. I've always had a strong commitment to my country through my being a veteran and the service that I have given to my county as a Douglas County resident as well. It started as far as being a leader and being prepared to be in this judicial road from graduating high school as a valedictorian of my class to going on and receiving my undergraduate degree in mathematics and then going on further to receive my degree in law. And all through this process of accomplishing those things, I've been very involved in my community and everything that's been going on. I've been a partner in education with the schools, a match mentor. I've been a part of Real Men Read. I have been a court appointed special advocate here in Douglas County. There's just a lot of different things that I've been involved in from the very beginning. And because I also have my own practice, I get to practice various areas of law that others may not get a chance to practice.
Absolutely, Corey. Before we move on to the next question, Kevin, Corey, I want you to, like you said, you're a veteran, and you're a veteran of the Army, if I have it correctly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And I just want to make sure that I'm a veteran myself. Kevin is a veteran, and I just you a lot of times we veterans tend to brush past that real quick, and you went past that real quick. But it's just the way that we are. But I, as the co-host here, I wanted to make sure that piece of everything that you said was highlighted because it's a very important step that we take in our lives being veterans. So I just wanted to make sure that people, understood that they didn't miss when you said that you're a veteran. So you don't have to expound on it or anything unless you want to, but you don't have to expound on your veteran status because being a veteran, part of being a veteran is part of being humble. And so, but I just wanted to make sure that did not go missed.
And yes, sir, Rodney, as a veteran, I understand the sacrifices that all veterans give for their country when they go out and they sign that contract and they decide to put their life on the line. And I also know that when people find out that you're a veteran out in the community or anywhere you at, the first thing that they say is thank you for your service. But I believe it goes further than just thanking a veteran for their service. See, I'm the supervising attorney over at John Marshall Law School, the Veterans Legal Clinic. We go all throughout the state of Georgia. We represent veterans free of charge in any criminal misdemeanor case. Anywhere in the state of Georgia, no cost to our veterans. Zero. And we do that because we want our veterans to know that we support you more than just saying something with our mouths. We want to do something to let you know that we appreciate the sacrifice that you gave and that you continue to give. So yes, I'm a veteran. I'm proud of it. My sister's a veteran, my cousin's a veteran, so we have veterans all throughout our family, and we understand the commitment that we gave, and that's why we want to support our veterans any way that we can.
Thank you for expounding on
Great.
that.
Yeah.
All right,
That
Kevin.
was a great that was a great tidbit of information to know
Yes.
about the support for veterans in terms of a legal space, because a lot of veterans are out here hurting and don't know which way to turn. You know, some are homeless and some are not, but they don't know which way to turn. It just compounds their problems in the end. But let me go forward and say, um, I appreciate you being a veteran. You're not the right one. Should have been Navy, but I'll go ahead and let that go. Okay? Okay.
Kevin gonna do it, but you can bet you that.
We all make mistakes. You know, that's all right. That's all
Kevin,
right. God
I think
bless
Kevin, I think Rodney and I would disagree with that.
you. So will my brother. So will my brother. You know. Um, okay, Mr. Corey, what motivates you to take a position as a Superior Court judge?
What motivates me is the dedication that I have to my country, the dedication that I have to my community, the responsibility that I owe to Shanita, to Sable, to Cassandra, to Simone, to Kamina, to Lennox, to Mars, to Jay, to my family, right? There's a commitment that I owe to them, a duty that motivates me to continue to be a part of the solution, right? We all come up and we say, hey, there's a problem here, there's a problem there. Do it all the time. People do it all the time. But I was taught not only do you come and you have a problem, what solution to that problem? How do we find it? And I want to be one of those that's in the game, not just sitting to the side complaining about what should change. And so that's part of what motivates me. I want to be a part of this process and has been a part of this process of trying to change and make the world, but more importantly, make Douglas County a better place for not only myself and my family, but for my friends and everybody that comes into Douglas County, and especially the Douglas County residents. So it's just in me. It was born in me, and I just have to do something more than just sit around and talk about change. I have to be a part of that change.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question, Corey. And I want to preface this with so we learn that, and I understand you're not running for the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court is the most publicized, court in America. Obviously, it's the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of the United States, and the reason I think I want to preface this question with a comment is because the last couple of Supreme Court justices that was appointed talked about their interpretation of the law and what constituted for precedents and what not constituted for precedents, right? Especially when it came down to the women's rights, especially with abortion and that kind of thing. So interpretate how a lawyer, how a judge interprets the law is very, very important. So how do you interpret and apply the law, particularly when faced with ambiguous or conflicting precedents?
Most attorneys, and hopefully all do this, right? And it started out most times with us researching the case law that's involved in the case. We'll research the case. We'll compare the facts from those cases that deal with the particular law. And for my office, when we're dealing with the cases that we deal with, which are civil and criminal cases, after we've researched it, after we've compared the facts of those cases that have already been decided on to those facts of our cases, then we'll sit down and on the blackboard, we're going to go through the pros and cons of each side, what we have for our side and what has been already decided. And when there's something ambiguous, that's when we try to make sure that we take our case and try to make it more favorable to the judge that's making the decision in the case so they would side with us. But we always go through that process of researching, of comparing, and not only are we comparing sometimes law in Georgia, but sometimes we may go outside of Georgia to look at law, although it's not binding. We may decide to go outside of Georgia to see if we can find something in another division or another circuit that may apply to what we have going on and present that in some persuasive way to the judge if it hasn't been decided on. But it's those things. And when we're making a decision on how to handle cases, our clients are always involved because it's about them, right? They have to know how it's going to affect them. Again, what are the pros and cons of any decision that we make on behalf of our client? Because it will affect them in one way or the other. And we make sure that they're always aware and fully disclosed of everything that's going on in the case. And a lot of time what we do as well is that we will bring our clients in and we'll let them see the cases. They may not always understand it. That's why we're there to interpret what they're saying and explain it to them, to a layperson, right? And take out the legal jargon as far as what the case is saying. But it starts with researching the case, comparing those facts to that case, trying to find cases that either work for us, work against us, and how can we be persuasive in what we're doing so that the outcome for our client is more favorable than the outcome for our opposition. And as a judge, you're doing the same thing. You're researching the cases, you're using the statutes, and you're coming up with a decision, and hopefully one that is fair and impartial for those that are involved.
So I
Thank
want
you,
to
sir.
jump in there
Appreciate it.
real quick, Rodney. I want
Yes,
to jump
go
in there
ahead,
real
Kevin.
quick on that. That brings me to a phrase or a point that's always been made when I talk to people in the legal community. How do we distinguish between America having a legal system versus a justice system? Because it appears that whoever has the best argument wins, regardless of the truth.
And you know what, Kevin? Sometimes that may be the case. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that at each and every case that I've sat down and heard, of course, outside of my own, because we try to prepare, right? So that we win based upon the merits and based upon the facts and based upon the evidence that we have. But that does happen. So I can't disagree with you that that doesn't happen. What I do know what should happen is that there are case law. If it is, it should be used in the cases, and that it should be based upon the law and the law being applied equally to everyone and it being applied impartially to everyone, and you're receiving a fair day in court. And more importantly, Kevin, you're being heard when you get a chance. Because when you go into court, you're only going to get that one day for you to be able to get across what's going on with you and possibly your family and how it has affected you. So if someone is rushing you out and not giving you that opportunity to be heard, it poses a problem. When I become Douglas County Superior Court judge, you don't have to worry about that. You will always be acknowledged, and you definitely will be respected and heard.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. Um, can I go ahead, Rodney? Should I go ahead?
No, no, Kevin. No, that's that is. I think that is it for that. I think
Okay.
we just wanted to make sure that we, because like I said, interpretation and precedents were two talked about, well talked about positions. When with these last Supreme Court appointees and stuff. So, and I think that your follow up question really closed it out pretty well. So no, Kevin, go ahead on with your next question.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Mr. Corey. Can you provide an example of a difficult legal decision that you that you had to make in your career, and how did you arrive at your decision?
Yes, a lot of times, Kevin, there are a lot of tough decisions that you make in your legal career, especially when you are self-employed and you have your own business, and you get to choose which cases come in for you to accept and which ones you don't, and even which areas of law you wish to practice and which ones you don't. One of the things that I said early on in my career is that cases where someone has been accused of touching children, molesting children, sexually assaulting children, doing something to the elderly, those type cases, we weren't going to deal with them, right? Yes, we were criminal defense attorneys, but you still get to choose what type of cases, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, that you want to deal with. And it just so happened that someone that I knew came up to me when we were out and they said, "Hey, Corey, I know that you're an attorney. And I know that you practice criminal law as well. And I know that you and I talk on a basis when we see each other out or whatever the case may be. I have a family member that has been accused of committing a sexual crime. Corey, they didn't do it. I don't believe it. And I'm going to put my word to you and the strength of my word between you and I that they did not commit this crime. And I'm asking that if you would please just take the time to look at it, to talk to their loved one, and then from there make a decision. And that was one of the hardest decisions that I had to make because, yes, I know the person, and we had a fine relationship. There was no problem. We see each other. You hug people when you see them. You say hello. You're very cordial. Sometimes, you may drink tea or coffee or something together, and everything's fine. But that still went against what I had already said that I wasn't going to do. But because I knew them and on the strength of their word, I said, okay, I will agree to come onto this sexual assault case. I will review the video footage and discovery, if there is some, and any of the other evidence that's there. But discovery, and if in the process of looking at all the evidence, there is any indication in my mind whatsoever that you've done something wrong, or it looks like you've done something wrong as far as your loved one, I'm not taking the case. So I'm telling you now, and I told that the client as well. So what I did, I got on the case, I reviewed the discovery, looked at all the evidence, spoke to the person, uh, and actually, in looking at the evidence, I realized that no, the evidence isn't there to support this. And in talking to the prosecutor and the opposing counsel, which in this case is a criminal case, the prosecutor, I'm like, please, let's meet and you show me where this person has done on this video, because they say they did it on the video. Show me in this video where this person is doing what you said that they're doing, please. And we met, and they still can show me where they said that this person was committing this sexual act. And there's been one of the few times where I had a hard decision to make as to whether to take a case or not take a case, because it dealt with a sexual assault dealing with a child. And it dealt with knowing someone that says, hey, I know you know me, right? And so based upon your relationship with me, and that I've never lied to you, and that I've always been forthcoming with you, and I believe that my family member is forthcoming with me, would you at least take the time to look at the evidence and then make a decision based upon that? And that's what I did. So it's been one of the hardest situations that I've had to deal with, because that goes against, like I said, because there's a connotation, there's a belief that when someone has even been charged with that type of crime, that you are guilty, period, right? And once that is on you, that stain is on you, when someone says that, when people see that, and they know that you've been charged with that type of crime, although you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, people's minds say, yeah, see, that's the person that did that, right? Have you heard about what he was charged with? Well, you know he did it, right? There's no doubt that he did it. And so it poses problems. And so that's been very hard, because that's one of the conversations that I also have with other attorneys who don't practice criminal law. And they say, hey, Corey, how do you do it? Right? How do you take a case like that, knowing that the person could or could not be guilty? I just couldn't do that. I said, well, we all have a right to be defended, and we all have a right to go through due process. And I don't want someone just to always say that a person is guilty based upon a charge that has been brought against them, because people can get charged all day, every day. It does not mean that they are guilty.
That's a lot to take on, and I appreciate your work in that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Well, they say that there's no court that's more powerful than the court of public opinion. And that's what I'm hearing, So, all right. Next question, Corey. What steps would you take to ensure that all individuals appearing before you in court are treated with dignity and respect?
Right. I think that has to be a given for anyone that walks into the courtroom, right? That you're treated that way. It would be treated the same way with anything else that I do, right? And when someone comes into my office or I see them, I believe, and I was always taught that you acknowledge that person, right? You don't just leave them standing around. You don't act like you don't know them. And of course, as a judge, they come to the courtroom, then they come and stand before you, right? So that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge and address the person as Mr. Butler, as Mr. Evans, as Miss Evans, right? Regardless of what the charge is. So it's about me acknowledging the person, understand that they have a very important issue, or else they would not be in superior court dealing with that issue. And letting them understand and know that I'm going to hear you out before any decision is made. Because if I say I'm fair and I'm impartial, I have to do that, right? There's nothing else that requires me to make a decision beforehand. As a matter of fact, it would be wrong for me to have already prejudged the case before hearing you. And like I said, more importantly, right, is understanding that people want to be heard, right? It's not, you heard the saying that it's not what you said to me, it's how you make me feel, right? So if I make you feel like I heard what you said, regardless to whether or not I agree with you as far as the final decision as a judge, I think you get more respect by saying, you know what? Yes, I don't agree with Judge Martin, but he didn't disrespect me. He didn't cut me off. He gave me an opportunity to at least present my case, and he was seemed to be fair and impartial. Might not agree with the final decision, but guess what? I understand and I feel better now than when I went into the courtroom versus having someone that we see very regularly saying, okay, well, I don't care how you feel. I don't care what's going on with you. I've made my decision. You don't have nothing else to say. Shut up, get out. Right? That's not how I handle things at my office. It hasn't been how I handle things in my life, and it definitely would not be something new that would happen in the courtroom that I would be over as the Douglas County Superior Court judge.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
that's good to know that too, because you know, particularly dealing with somebody maybe with alcohol or drug issues, the recidivism rate is very, very high.
yes,
So you're gonna constantly flood your court. You're gonna just see him last week and then here this week, and just give him that respect because that illness is very bad. And people need to have respect, as they go through the system.
yeah,
I definitely agree.
and
And a lot of our veterans,
mhm,
right, have some of those issues as well, right? And
Exactly.
that's why we work with them. And that's why we're trying to help
mhm,
them. And that's why they have accountability courts as well in Douglas County, right? For people to be able to get the help if there's a mental health issue, then you should be able to go into court and be um, examined and treated and diagnosed by someone that's a professional that is able to help you because I'm not a mental health professional, right? So there are ways of being able to get a person help versus mine just saying, okay, we saw you, or just go lock you up. Because I've had it too, where clients of mine have had mental health issues. I've brought it to the court as far as that mental health issue, and I've been told, well, okay, court, so what? Guess what? We're going to lock that person up. And I'm saying, well, judge, the person has a mental health issue. It's documented that they have a mental health issue. What good does putting someone in jail without getting them the help for that mental health issue or for that substance abuse dependency do? Because for all of us that are real, we both and all three know that, okay, you're just going to jail and saying that they're going to help you with those issues. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. So that's why you try to help them before they go into jail. Now, if they don't do what they need to do, that's a different story. But those are the things that I see all the time, and I've been a part of that conversation because I'm in the courtroom, right? I'm seeing these cases, I'm handling these cases, and I'm trying to advocate for my client. But people just sometimes aren't listening.
Yeah, well, I've long believed that um, locking somebody up has never been a good remedy for substance abuse or any kind of abuse. Just put them in a hole for a second for them to exacerbate their issues. They're not going to get better. They'll get worse. Get violated. Now you know, now you caught two more cases while you're sitting there waiting for help.
Yes, sir. I agree, Kevin, and I definitely understand. And I want to make sure that everyone is listening to us understand that that's what we're saying. For those individuals that have substance abuse issues or mental health issues, there's a different way of treating them versus just saying, let's just throw everybody in jail for whatever reason, right? There's a way of being able to get people the help that they need without excusing them for whatever crime or whatever behavior that has gotten them there in the Superior Court.
yeah. So, Corey, I'm not going to go too deep into, um, criminalizing substance abuse. But you know, well, before I go there, because I usually do this at the top of the program, um, and I just want for everybody to know that many of the people who come on to the candidates, I'm sorry, the candidates that come on to the Black Man's Roundtable that we interview, we know these individuals, personally, and so I let everybody know that once we get all of the formalities out of the way, with that's why I introduced Corey as Attorney Corey Martin. But once we get that stuff out of the way, we are family on the Black Man's Roundtable. So you hear us
Absolutely.
using first names because number one, we all kind of know each other, and that's going to be the case with most cases. But also number two, we don't want all this Mr. Butler and Mr. and Attorney Martin. We want for you to be just understand that we are family on the Black Man's Roundtable. So I usually introduce that right off the top. So Corey said something that reminded me, oh, you forgot to do that. That being said, going back to that question, going back to, this topic that we're on right now with with treating people with dignity and those kind of things. I say that to say too that I know Corey Martin. I know Corey Martin personally, and what he's saying about how I look at the way he treat people just as a person, as an attorney, and I know that would transition right into being a judge. So Corey, I can definitely vouch for everything you're talking about and the way that you treat people. You're an outstanding guy, man, and hey. That being said, but also since we kind of talking about it a little bit, we have the mental health. I think the studies come out that something like 80 something percent, some crazy percentage amount of people who are in jail or in prisons should be in some kind of mental health program in some kind of way,
Right.
right? And so I don't see funding or anything like that increasing or being put to the level that it should be put for mental health and mental illness in America. That being said, we do have to depend on our judges, like a Judge Corey Martin would be, to not become a mental health professional, but to know how to have the sympathy and empathy that it takes in order to not feel, but to at least make up a little bit for that gap in the mental in our broken mental health system. And judges can be very, very important in doing that. And Corey, I do think, again, I know you're not a mental health professional, but it just like we can't legislate morality. I understand that as a judge, you can't cure somebody of something, but we can have sympathy and empathy from the bench. And I think that's what you were talking about a little bit.
And yes, right now, I definitely agree. That's a part of it, right? That's a part of just being a human being, right? That goes along with respecting people and understanding some of the situations that they're in, regards to how they got there. But with the substance abuse and the mental health, that's why we have accountability courts, right? Because you should have experts in that accountability court to be able to deal with whatever issue that's before the court, if it's mental health or substance abuse or something else that's going on, right? So if the judge doesn't have that training, we have someone in that court that does, to make sure that whoever is in there is getting the proper diagnosis and the proper treatment to get them back out on their feet and to become a part of society that's going to be positive versus negative. And yes, there are millions of probably people in jail that have been even diagnosed with a mental health condition, right? But they're still there because either someone didn't care enough or they didn't take 5 minutes to say, hey, something's wrong, right? Let's get this person evaluated from a mental health expert. Or like me, we've already said that this person has a problem. I've given you documents to support that there's a problem. So now, what is the issue with allowing them to now be examined or to go into the accountability court to get help? That shouldn't be. But when I become Douglas County judge, we'll make sure that that issue doesn't happen.
Absolutely. All right, Kevin, take it away, brother.
Okay. Okay. How do you plan to handle cases where the law conflicts with your personal beliefs and values?
Well, Kevin, that's now as a criminal defense attorney. There's a lot of cases that come into our office. We may not agree with what the charges are. We may not even agree once we find out what the evidence is, especially if it doesn't support sometimes what our client has told us. But we are taught and we are trained in law school that you separate your personal beliefs, because when people come to the courtroom, they should be fair. fairly, and it should also be an impartial process that's going on. And so that's what we try to do when we're in there, and that's just what I would do when I'm in there, to make sure that everyone is not treated differently, but that you're treated fairly, and that we hear you, and that we understand what it is that you're going through.
Gotcha.
Okay. I want to expand just a little bit on that, Kevin, on that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Corey, we know that it has been just thinking about the listening audience. Uh, we've come to know our audience pretty good, and so there's so when we talk about handling cases where the law conflicts with personal beliefs and values. I don't think that there is an actual is actually written in America. We just say it to where um, church versus state and all that kind of stuff, right? We're supposed to
Mhm.
separate religion from law. I don't think anyway that is written, but of course you're the lawyer. Um, I want you to just, because there have been so many rogue kind of judges, so many kind of judges actually stating openly their personal values and their personal beliefs into decisions that they are making or that they plan to make. Can you just get a little bit more specific in that, and just assuring the listeners, ensuring the constituents, the electorate, that you're not that kind of judge who sticks, try to force religion into everything and force, your personal values into decisions.
And that definitely would not happen, right? I definitely believe that when you go in, the scales of justice should be evenly weighed, and my personal beliefs as to if you should do A or B does not come into play. I go to church. I believe in God, but because someone comes into the courtroom and they say that they don't believe, that doesn't mean I treat them any differently, right? Matter of fact, I should understand, right? Because that's what I'm supposed to do: love my brother or my sister, right? If
Yes.
if I really do believe in that, in the Word and just in God in general. But I don't have to bring those things. I don't have to use those things against that person when they come to the courtroom. The problem is, though, it does happen, right? And when it
Yes.
happens, then we have to call it for what it is. But Rodney, that's also one of the reasons why I'm running, because we see that,
Yes.
right? And it happens. And again, I can complain about it all day long that it's happening, right? But if I'm not willing to get up and get out in the streets and let people know who I am and run for this office and put everything that I know on the line and ask for others to stand behind me and believe in what I believe in, then I might as well just be quiet and just sit over to the side and just let whatever's happening now continue to happen. But guess what? That's not me. That's not my personality. That wasn't how I was raised. To just let the status quo be. It doesn't work like that. I have a job to do. I've been doing it for the last 27 years since I've been in Douglas County, and I will continue to do that. I've been out here when in Douglas County when we had the marches with the improper and the sentence that they gave Janala Wilson, right? I've been out here in Douglas when we've had to march for all types of things. I've been out here in Douglas when we had the Black Lives Matter that came through in 2020. And because people in our residents in Douglas County, young and old, felt that that was needed doing Black Lives Matter to come through Douglas County because they felt that they were being mistreated and people didn't care about what was going on in the courtroom. That's why I do what I do. I'm out in the streets. And now I just want people to know that I'm here to make a difference, a real difference, and not just to tell you what you want, because that's not what I do. I'm going to treat you with respect always, even when they come into our office. And one thing that we tell them even now, right, when they come into the office, our clients, is that I'm not just going to tell you what you want to hear. You may not like it, but I want you to be fully informed of everything. But you will always be respected, and I will never be judgmental in what it is that you've been accused of. Because remember, Rodney, when they come into the courtroom, especially if it's a criminal case, you're innocent until you're found guilty by a jury of your peers. So if I'm already mistreating you during this process, then I've already made a decision on my own, and that is not my job. It's only once you've been found guilty by a jury of your peers, unless it's a plea bargain, that's something different. Then do I get to come in and do what needs to be done and what's fair in this process.
And I can once again vouch and attest to that. Appreciate the answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Kevin.
I think it's your question next, Rodney.
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess I expounded on yours so much. How do you approach, Corey, how do you approach the issue of sentencing, particularly in cases where there may be mitigating or aggravating factors to consider?
Right, when it comes to criminal cases, most cases already have some type of range and sentence that's established, right? A crime may carry in Superior Court from 1 to 30 years or life, whatever the case may be. And sometimes there's a range in there in which the judge can make a decision as to giving the person. The same as if there may be a probationary period from, say, I put you on probation. It could carry from 1 to 10 years probation, but for whatever reason, I decide to put you on 5, or I give you the max of 10, right? It may be you're paying a fine from maybe say $1,000 up to $150,000, depending upon the crime, right? And so I think once you made a decision on where that client lies, that person lies when they come into the courtroom, either after they've been found guilty or after there's a plea agreement between the parties, then I do believe you have to consider all of the facts. And those are those mitigating or aggravating factors. Has this person been found guilty of a violent crime before? Has this person committed a crime 20 years ago and now they're here before us because maybe there's a marijuana charge, right? Do we sentence them for 10, 15 years? Do we put on probation for 10 or 15 years? I think you have to weigh those things and being fair and impartial. And I do believe in restorative justice, right? Where you can give people an opportunity to get their lives together, right? To be a productive part of society. But at the same time, I believe, of course, that if you commit a crime, then once you are found guilty, not before, but once you are found guilty, then there's a sentence that has to come down. Because see, Rodney, Kevin, what I understand is that I live in Douglas County. I own property. I have a family in Douglas County. I work in Douglas County, right? I don't want anyone coming, breaking into my house, tearing up my property. I don't want my family to ever feel that when they go to the store, they can't get out because they're afraid of being robbed by someone, right, that shouldn't have been there. So there's some things that people just have to know, that although you hear restorative justice, that does not mean that people who are committing crimes will not be held accountable, because you will when I become Douglas County Superior Court judge. I work just like anyone else, right? As a matter of fact, sometimes I work 6, sometimes 7 days a week to make sure that I'm doing what I need to get done. So I believe if I can go to work and take care of my family, then guess what? You can too. So you shouldn't be out here committing crimes, right? But it happens, and when it happens, we have to deal with it. And I want to make sure that we're not putting everyone into one group, right? Because we just talked about it with Kevin, is right. Those that have mental health issues or substance abuse issues, sometimes we have to deal with them with accountability courts, right? Or if there was something else that was going on. But especially if you're out here committing violent crimes in Douglas County, and especially if there are any of the 7 deadly sins, like murder or rape or kidnapping or ag sexual battery or ag child molestation, none of that's going to be tolerated. But again, that's only after you have been found guilty, because a jury of your peers says, guess what? Yeah, we heard everything and now we've made a decision. Corey didn't make the decision as if you were innocent or guilty. You had an opportunity to present your side, and for whatever reason, it didn't go the way that you wanted to. And since it didn't, I have to do to make sure that still the residents of Douglas County feel safe, they feel respected, and they want to stay out here. Because if I've been out here and I've been in the streets, I know what's going on. But I want to feel safe, and I definitely want my family and the residents of Douglas County to feel safe anytime they step out that door. Rodney, it used to be where you could leave your door, and we've done it. It's been many times I've left my home, and for whatever reason, I forgot to let down the garage, right? Or I hit the button and didn't double check to make sure it was down. I came back, nothing was moved, right? There's been times when I've left the front door unlocked. I've come back and no one has been in my home because I felt safe, right? And we want that to continue in Douglas County. And anything outside of that, of course, it won't be tolerated. But you still have to understand that there are some times where there are mitigating circumstances that requires you to do something a little bit different to help someone that may need it, right? And that's what we plan on doing.
That's absolutely right. Excuse me. I grew up like that in New Jersey. I never had a house key. We just walk out the house 2 or 3 weeks on vacation, house wide open. That's how I grew up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, my question here is, um, can you discuss any experience you had with alternative dispute resolution methods, such as mediation and arbitration?
Oh, definitely, Kevin. Happens all the time because again, I practice.
Mm-hmm.
Most times, mediation and arbitration comes into play when you're practicing civil law, which I do
Yeah.
practice civil law as far as personal injury, car wrecks, and accidents, and even discrimination and things like that. So, yes, matter of fact, I have mediation coming up next Tuesday for a car wreck. That one of my clients was involved in, and then in March I have 3 or 4 mediations that's coming up. I had an arbitration hearing about 2 to 3 months ago. So I'm very familiar with alternative dispute resolution, and that gives you an opportunity to resolve the cases without having to go through the court system and wait a longer period of time. So with mediation, mediation tends to be less formal. Most times it's myself, my client, an adjuster on the other side. Sometimes their client is there, or someone that has the authority to make a decision. The other part is there's going to be a mediator. And the job of the mediator is to do that, to mediate the conversations between the party, to show different things to one side or the other, to try and get us to talking to where we can come to some type of agreement. We might not get everything that we want in mediation, but we get enough done whereby we can leave and our client is happy for the most part. With arbitration, it's going to be a little bit more restrictive. It's going to allow you to go through the process of discovery where you wouldn't do that in mediation. Arbitration, most times, is a whole lot more expensive than mediation. Um, you're going to need an arbitrator in arbitration to make the decision for you versus in mediation, the parties are making the decision. So there's pros and cons to both sides of the dispute resolution process. I am very familiar with both of them because I'm constantly doing them all the time. And now even my students who I'm training at John Marshall, they come in, they sit in on mediation, they sit in on arbitration, and we're training them as far as how to best advocate and support their client. And in most maybe 50, 60% of superior court cases, the judge will tell you, hey, we need you to go out and try mediation. Or you can always request from a superior court judge to allow you to go through mediation to see if you can possibly get the case resolved. So I think it's a great process. It does work. It may not work 100% of the time, but it does give you another avenue, and it frees up that long case log that we have of cases, right? You get to move up to the line quicker versus waiting 2 or 3 years for your case to come. And a lot of clients don't mind giving that an opportunity, but yes, I'm very familiar with both of those.
Great, great.
I want to ask a quick question on that. Well, probably for me personally, and for the listening audience. Um, Corey, so who can serve, or not? Yeah, who can serve, or who usually serves as an arbitrator and a mediator?
Most times, as far as the mediator, a lot of attorneys, they go and they go through the process. There's a process, maybe like a 40-hour course that they go through, and then there may be some cases that they have to sit through with someone else where they're trained to be a mediator. Most times in my cases, as far as arbitration, it's always been a judge, a prior
Okay.
judge. There was serving at one time, and even some current judges where they'll come in, there'll be an arbitrator. But most times you have a judge in arbitration for the ones that I've been in, and on the other side of mediation, it's another attorney that has went and got the training to become a Georgia certified mediator, and now they're mediating cases.
Okay. Just as I thought. I just want to make sure that we clear that up with myself and the listening audience. Okay. All right. Next question for you, Corey. How do you plan to maintain the public's trust and confidence in the judiciary?
by being the way that I am now, by being open, by being honest, by being committed to serving the residents of Douglas County and those that will come before me, by hearing and listening to what they're saying when they're in front of us, by allowing them to do more talking and my doing more listening versus
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. So it's a matter of making sure that they know that if I was in the community before, then I'm still in the community. I'm not just going to go hide once I become Douglas County Superior Court judge. I'm still here. I'm still approachable. You can talk to me even if I'm a judge because I do the same. When I see the judges out, I'll say, hey, how you doing, or whatever the case may be, right? Or if they're at on a forum or something, I'll go and hear them speak. So it's just a matter of making sure that people know that I'm committed to serving the residents of Douglas County and not myself.
Great.
All right. Yeah, well, enough said on that. All right, Kevin.
Okay. All right. How do you stay informed about changes in the law and the legal process?
Mm. Thank you for that question, Kevin. Uh, and that's actually one of the more easier ones that I've had tonight. I'm in the courtroom, Kevin. Right, so I'm in the
Mhm.
courtroom. I'm a litigator. I'm in the courtroom. I'm having trials, murder trials, uh, uh, um, trials, anything ranging from a speeding ticket to murder. I'm there having it. RICO trials. We've done RICO trials. We've done all these different types of trials. So I'm there and I'm knowing what the law is because I have to research the law. And in most instances, it's us taking the continuing legal education courses to make sure that we're prepared, us going through training sessions, um, us being in there, my talking to other attorneys who may have heard something that was going on in the law, and they may send me an article and say, hey, Attorney Martin, what do you think about this? Right? So it's those things that keep us informed about the law. But when you're in the courtroom and you're listening to not only yourself, but other attorneys, and they may give you a case or something that's fairly new or whatever, then I'll research that case to make sure, one, that it says and stands for what they say it does. But also, now I've learned something new. But each year as an attorney, we do and are required to get so many hours of continuing legal education courses to make sure that we are abreast of what's going on. But those are the way that we go about making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and that we are very aware about the changes in the law and anything else that's going on in the law.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, Corey, on that same question, I think that sometimes people uh, feel that some judges actually, and I know you're not the Superior Court judge yet, but you're in on that track to be. But we talked about staying informed about changes in the law, and a lot of times people believe that judges, become uninformed or they become, yeah, a lot of cases and everything are brought to them. But how do you particularly, you know, when you become the Superior Court judge for that court specifically, are there things that you already thought about that you will do or can do to stay, uh, to stay informed, like community stuff that you talked about, but to stay informed on the law and the legal precedents?
Well, most definitely, I would make sure that I'm researching the cases because new cases come out all the time, on different areas of the law. And so you have to stay abreast. You may not know everything about every area of law because there's likely a challenge, right?
Right.
And it's very hard. So it's about me making sure that I research the cases that come before me. And most times, judges may have an assistant that can help them with the researching of the cases, but to possibly
Mm-hmm.
find one and then the judge reviews it to see if it fits it or not and does more additional research. So it's about my research and making sure that I'm well informed of what's going on and going through those continuing education courses. And not only that, making sure that the course that I'm going through is actually helpful versus just picking anything just to get the CLE hours. But the goal is to make sure that I'm fully informed about what I'm doing because I wouldn't want anyone to think that, okay, well, we were just in front of Attorney Martin and he didn't know what the heck he was talking about, or where did he come up with this idea or this decision that he came up with, right? Is he really out here understanding what happens in the real world with people who are faced with real issues? Or is it just something that he just pulled out the hat, or something that he just said, okay, I'm going to just come up with some arbitrary decision that doesn't matter? Because it does matter. Each and every decision we make as a judge matters to the people that are in the courtroom with us. And so we have to make sure that we are up to date on what the law is, and that we have the tools. Most times it's Lexis, Westlaw, a fast case, something that we're using to research those cases and to make sure that we are prepared to be fair, impartial, and to know what the area of law that the person is before us, that we know what it's about, and that we're able to make an informed decision, along with sometimes just using a little common sense, right? It doesn't hurt to use a little common sense. Because I've been in courts when I'm like, well, that makes no sense. What you just said at all, right? It goes against everything. It's just something that's very basic. And that is one of the things that sometimes I get from some of the other attorneys when I'm talking to them on this journey to becoming the next Douglas County Superior Court judge, is that, hey, Corey, what happened to just sometimes using common sense on top of that, on top of whatever decision that you're coming up with, versus something that just makes no sense whatsoever, right? So you take all those things into consideration. Again, that may go back to one of those mitigating circumstances that you have, but you're looking at all those things to make sure that you're making the best decision based upon the information that you have at that time, and you're fully disclosing all that information to others. Because believe me, right now, I don't always agree with what goes on with the judges. Matter of fact, I've had several, even just recently, hard conversations with them when I totally disagreed. Did not agree whatsoever. We had the same research, and I'm wondering how did you come to your decision from the research that's presented versus what the courts have said, right? So we're in there, we're advocating, and we've been fighting for our clients. But I also understand we have to be very open as a judge, and to listen to everything that's going on versus already prejudging a case without having all the information.
Well, Corey, let me ask you a question. On top of that question, if you're having a dispute like that with another judge, do you guys go in the corner and do rock, paper, scissors to come up with the best solution?
No, Corey Martin doesn't, and the law office of Martin and Associates have never done that. No,
Okay,
it's about, of course, number one, you always want to be respectful to the judge. I can disagree with the judge, but number one, because it is a respected position, and I am an attorney and I'm an officer of the court, I would never disrespect that position, even if I
gotcha,
disagree with that judge. Right?
gotcha.
If I want respect, I have to give it as well, and so I would never disrespect the judge in any manner. But I will make sure that, no, the judge, I totally disagree with this decision, and this is why I disagree with this decision. And even if the judge says, hey, Attorney Martin, I'm going to still go with this, then Attorney Martin and his client has some decisions to make. We can always appeal it, or we can just take what the judge has and go with it from there. So there are some decisions. But no, us just doing rock, paper, scissors, that is not what we do whatsoever. We advocate for our clients. And I would expect
Right,
that as the judge, right, other attorneys will come into my courtroom and they will do the same thing, because that's what they're hired to do, to advocate for their client in a respectful way, because the position itself deserves respect. And only when someone steps outside of that, then does that change things. But I don't believe in disrespecting, number one, anybody. But I also would not disrespect someone that's in that position, because as I get ready to enter into that position, I would not want anyone just to come in and just disrespect me.
gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for all of that. For just clarifying that question, Corey, and just being and all the specificity that you gave, for that question, because, like you said, it was the easiest question that you felt that you had tonight, but it's also, a question that can be loaded that people, because I think people also think that sometimes the judges, and maybe some of them do, once they get in judgeship, they get lazy, they get, and so that's why we kind of put that question in there to make sure that, that people understand that Corey Martin will still continue to better, to better yourself as a, uh, as an officer of the court, as a judge, as as a legal uh, a professional. So, Corey, that actually does it for the questions that we have for you for tonight. And but before we let you close it out with how people can support you, how people can support your campaign, um, I want for the audience to understand that there's nothing wrong with, I don't guess there's nothing wrong with appointed judges, but I think our elected judges, we as a community can hold them accountable much more than we can someone who is appointed. And the Douglas County Superior Court judge is an elected position, and that's why Corey Martin has a campaign, and that's why I'm sure that he's going to ask for your support. So just know that that Attorney Martin is somebody that we can continue as a community to hold to account, and I'm sure that Attorney Martin won't have. Judge Martin won't have any problems coming back and talking to us on the Black Man's Roundtable
Exactly.
when he's there, and so I just have no doubt that he will come back and visit me and Kevin, and we'll get to talk to him and keep you guys informed. So, Attorney Martin, that being said, close it out. Tell us how people can support. Tell the people how they can support you and support your campaign.
Sure, sure. Again, I want to thank you, Rodney, and thank you again, Kevin, as well, for
Yes,
having
sir.
me on the Black Man's Roundtable.
Yes,
I
sir.
definitely appreciate this opportunity to come and to be transparent and open with everyone is in the sound of our voices, and definitely with the residents of Douglas County. I want people to know that they can always count on Corey. Rodney and Kevin, there's always someone that you can always count on regardless of what goes on. No matter what it is, you have a friend, a wife, a husband, an uncle, an aunt, grandmother, someone you can always count on is going to be real with you, tell you the truth, but also support you when you need that support, right? And I'm that person. That's why I'm running for Douglas County Superior Court Judge. Being here for the last 27 years in Douglas County and being out in the streets and being in the schools and just giving back to my community. Part of it has been that because I am who I am, I don't brag on what I do for my community. I don't brag on how many schools that I support, how many teachers that I try to make sure that they know that they are appreciated throughout the year and not just one time of the year. Because I don't need those things, right? I don't have to have all those awards. I know within myself what I've been doing in the county. But now, because I have to make sure that everybody else knows, then I don't mind letting people know that yes, I've received many awards from the state bar, from the law school. Matter of fact, I have the top award from my law school. But more importantly, I'm here in Douglas County, not only as a resident, but I'm a veteran. So I want people to know I understand leadership. I understand sacrifice. I understand delegating. I understand that tough decisions have to be made. And I don't mind making those decisions. I understand that I am an entrepreneur. I've had my own law office for the last 15 years, and we're doing very well. We've been blessed throughout the 15 years that I have had my own law firm, and we'll continue to do that. I am a community advocate because I'm out here and I'm fighting for things that are right and things that are going to build up my community. And so I want people also to know that although I have been on the criminal defense side, and of course we do civil cases, when I first started, my last 15 months of law school, I was on the prosecution side. I did prosecution and learned it from actually Judge Fortner, who's a state court judge here, and Judge Warren, who was there in the solicitor's office at the time. I spent 5 months there on the prosecution side. I've been with the USCIS and Department of Homeland Security on chief counsel sides where we practice immigrations and deportation and enforcing immigration laws. And I've also been on the prosecution side with the IRS, dealing with small business and self-employed individuals to make sure that everyone was in compliance. So I have I've had the opportunity and the experiences on both sides of it, because only thing that likely changed the trajectory of how I became to be self-employed in my own business was only because of the fact that in '08 and then in '09 when I graduated, the bottom had fell out the economy. And so those positions that I thought I would have on the prosecution side to make a change as well, they weren't there. So I had to make some tough decisions. And as a judge, this is what you're going to do. You're going to have to make some tough decisions. And when it's all said and done, it falls on you. I made the decision that I'm not just going to sit around and just wait for things to get better. I have to get out and do something myself. I have to be involved in the game. And so I opened up my own practice. And since that time, I've been moving forward. I even started a program called DDWR, Dad's Doing What's Right. And although I don't spend as much time with it, it was just something very simple that I wanted to have in the community to say, hey, men, I understand that it's challenging at times, but the only thing we want you to do as a man and as a dad is what's right for your child. If you and mom aren't together, that's okay. Let's just be men and do what we're supposed to do and take care of our families. That's not hard to do. But I've been here asking for your support. You can go to countoncorey.com. You can donate. You can volunteer. And you can also call me on my cell. Every one of my clients has my cell. Call me on my cell. I don't mind. I'll talk to you. It's not a problem. My door is always open. And also, Kevin and Rodney, I open up my door to anyone in Douglas County, and especially our teenagers and those that are in college. They can always come in and see what I do as an attorney. And depending upon where we're going, they can always shadow me. My door is always open because I want you to see that you can do this too, and you can be an attorney. You can make a difference in your community. And I'm here to make sure that you see everything, not just the parts that may look good or sound good. I want you to see the entire picture. So I'm asking for your vote. Early voting is April 29th, and then the actual vote is May 21st of 2024. This is Attorney Corey Martin. I want to be your next Douglas County Superior Court Judge. I'm asking you to believe in me. I'm asking you to check me out. And more importantly, I'm asking you to vote for me as your next Douglas County Superior Court Judge. Count on Corey. Thank you.
Good stuff, Corey. Good stuff, man. And that said, hey, like Corey said, he's out there. He want to see you out. That he's going to meet you where you are, and that is our motto for the Black Man's Roundtable. And that said, on behalf of my co-host Kevin Evans, I want to tell everybody that, hey, until next time, we will see you in those suites and those streets. Talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.
1,